I have a question for you.
Oh, sure.
Does breastfeeding relate to cancer, breast cancer?
Yeah.
In other words, do women who breastfeed have more chances of having cancer than those who don't breastfeed and just depend on what do you call it?
Yeah, if I can just come in, I understood what your question. Let me just come in.
Let me just point him to it.
I will explain. Let me just explain to you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Breastfeeding is preventative. So when a woman breastfeeds, like the density of the breast is reduced with breastfeeding, which is one of the risk factors of cancer. So, and then when you do breastfeed, there are certain hormones that are secreted that are counter to what can stimulate breast cancer. So based on that, breastfeeding is protective. From all studies done, is protective of breast cancer. Yeah.
Did that make sense to you? What he's saying is part of what I already had in a slide, that part of the healthy lifestyles is if a woman who can breastfeed. And one of the things that Awashika Olumo had already said is in terms of if you even think of diabetes and insulin control, the proteins that are produced by these cells are not controlled. The regulation goes haywire. But you see, what is it that is the protein that is it? The cells are metabolizing, not only metabolizing, that is using up the oxygen and everything else, the nutrients that you've given them, but they divide. What is cancer? Unregulated and unrestricted division of the cells. So the cells, these cells that you remember our DNA that I showed you, double helix, it opens up, then it divides. But those genes that are there that are mutating, rather than just replicate what they had before, they go haywire. They just replicate something else, and that thing replicates something else, and that thing replicates something else. Okay, and the proteins eventually that are produced, because your cell and my cell, or in that particular part of the body, do not have the regulators to kind of control this excessive division of cells. You know, so the proteins that are produced are just accumulating there. And so when you hear metastasis, that means that these bad cells have because they start moving all over the body. They start even into the brain. Okay, they move in your bloodstream, they move anywhere. We're lucky as stationary. They were at the bus stop, at the train station, and they were captured there. They couldn't move, they couldn't fly, they couldn't do anything. But when the body loses control of these things, and the body is wonderful. Just think about the control of how you and I sleep, wake up every morning, and we're still able to function. All it needs is just one cell. One gene, I'm not even talking of cell, to just misbehave and say, I'm not going to follow all the regulations. And that's it. So when you breastfeed, those cells that are supposed that breast cancer, even if you had them, they are not going haywire, they're not multiplying out of control. Okay, and all the other cells, the regular cells, are not misbehaving also because the breast is less dense, right? Because you're pumping out all that breast milk and feeding the baby. So you are protected as a mother who breastfeeds more than a mother who gives her children bottles. Does that make sense? Well, yeah, we're not going anywhere. The sun hasn't set yet. You guys want to go, that's why. But we're here, no, seriously, because we think this is a very serious problem, because it's either tradition, taboos, marriage, and the patriarchal societies we live in, where the men sometimes determine what the woman has to do with or without her body. And religion, these religious groups that have fled all over the place. Go and talk to people in Nigeria. And I think Dr. Washika mentioned that earlier on, you're born again, and this is my portion, this is not my portion. Whose portion is this? I mean, just make sure everybody gets their own correct portion. So why tell me which one is your portion, which isn't yours? You don't know. You do not know, and I don't know. So don't tempt God by telling him what is your portion and what is not your portion. Do the right thing, and you'll be saved. And you know what? People who have cancers also have some good percentage of those who have had it once are likely to have it again if they don't take all of the precautions. And even if they take all of the precautions, they may have it again. So it isn't like once we've gotten it now, we can't get it again. But we'll still have to be doing the right things we think are necessary, to make sure we reduce the potential or the incidence of